What's up, y'all? I am so excited. Thank you so much for tuning in to Crown Confessions and Conversations. So excited. We are doing episode 2. Thank you so much for just even participating, for even listening to episode 1. I've gotten a lot of great feedback. You all loved Elisa, and I had a lot of people be like, Elisa was like teaching a word. That's what she do. That's who she is. I let her be herself at all times. So I am very, very excited to have the second episode. Today's episode is called It's Been Diagnosed, Now What? I have 2 amazing guests. Well, 2.5. So just in case we have a quick feature. But I am so excited to have these 2 ladies here with me. And I'm just going to get right into it. I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So we have Miss Cewanda Todd first. Go ahead. Tell the people who you are.
Hi. Thank you so much, Kendall, for having me here today, for having us here today. And
of course.
This is amazing, and I know that somebody is going to be blessed by what we're going to say. So my name is Cewanda Todd. A little bit about me. I'm a registered nurse and have been so for about 27 years. I'm a wife and a mother of 3. My daughter, Kendall, was diagnosed with a life-threatening congenital heart condition before she was born, and she's had numerous medical challenges for the past 12 years. So I'm also currently an author of 3 faith-based books.
Gotta slow it down sometimes.
You're right. Faith-based books, which are written primarily for families with children with special needs. It is my mission to encourage, to empower, to inspire, to support, and applaud parents for doing their very best, to give them hope in the midst of the crisis and uncertainty as it relates to their child's condition and medical diagnosis.
Yes, I love it. I'm excited already. We just getting started.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Awesome. All right. My second guest, Jasmine, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
I will introduce myself real quick. So what up, family, everybody? My name is Jasmine Ebay. I am a mommy of 2. My firstborn son is an awesome kid. He was born with autism. Well, okay, I don't know if I want to say it like that. Autism developed at around 18 months or so for E, and so it's just been a journey at this point. Yeah. So like after getting the diagnosis, we started a Facebook page that we just kind of do our thing on. Pretty much what it is just a cultivated space for Black children with autism as well as their families to connect. We try to like kind of figure out how to process emotions and the emotional challenges that come along with a diagnosis, as well as proven strategies that have worked for other families. And then obviously like we get to do it by looking through our lens, that lens of like shared cultural experience and background. And so our spot is basically just dedicated to advocating for our tribe, reflecting our values, and supporting our community's unique position in the world of autism.
Cool. Awesome. And as you all have kind of already talked about, you all run spaces where people can get connected to you and learn more about your stories and learn more about these amazing little people. So I will have all that information in the description so people will know how to get in contact with you and get connected with you. Because I'm excited. I actually met these 2 awesome ladies about 5 years ago. We all go to church together. I have a dope church community, y'all.
Yes,
like,
indeed.
listen,
Yes, indeed.
I have such a great church community. But these 2 ladies are very much near and dear to my heart, and they're little people. KG love the kids, like the babies. I love the babies. You know, so
and vice versa. The babies love you.
Listen, I be trying to figure out sometimes, like, dang, I know I be getting on these kids' nerves, but they, for sure, for some odd reason, they do.
They vibe with you. They do.
Yeah. You know why? Because I mind my business and let them mind theirs.
You're not telling them what to do.
I'm not.
Right.
No. I ain't got time for all that. Now, I will get a kid together if necessary.
Yes, indeed.
But fortunately, your 2 are not kids I feel like I need to get together. So I want to thank you both for coming and sharing. And our I said 2.5, so our half member is little Miss Legacy. Jasmine, like she said, she is a mom of 2, so Legacy is also here. So if you hear some cuteness in the background, that's little Legacy. You know, she
putting her 2 cents in.
Exactly, because she woke up. It's specifically to be a participant in this.
This is about me too.
What nap?
Listen,
What nap?
Okay. what I will be is heard. Okay. So we're gonna get right into it, just so that you all can talk more about your stories, the stories of these awesome little people that I love, that we love so much. My first question is, and anybody can ask, it doesn't matter. What was your initial reaction after your child was diagnosed?
Okay, go ahead. So I would say, this is Cewanda. My initial reaction after the diagnosis was, I was in a state of numbness and disbelief, and it was like an out-of-body experience for me. Like, I heard them, but they couldn't have been talking to me about that. They couldn't have said that, your daughter, or no, at that point we didn't know it was a boy or girl, but your child has a disorder or a condition that is pretty much fatal. They were like, okay, so this is not good. Nothing, part of the heart's not growing, part of the lung's not growing. You can have an abortion right now at 21 weeks.
Wow.
You can deliver this baby. The baby's going to die immediately afterwards. Or if the baby lives after birth, you take the baby home, the baby's going to die.
Wow.
So that was it. So that all came in my initial, finding out and the diagnosis and everything. So from that point on, I think for the rest of the entire pregnancy, I was just numb. I didn't like celebrate, how you normally do when you're pregnant. You have this joy and baby showers and all that stuff. I couldn't, because all I knew was, I'm not going to take this baby home. This baby is going to die.
Wow.
And that's what I believed. I'm like, they know what they're talking about. They know what they see. Every couple of weeks we, go back and check and do ultrasounds. It's the same. So the initial diagnosis was very, very, very hard for me. And that started a whirlwind of other emotions that we'll talk about later. But, when you don't expect it, you go in, I've had 2 other kids before, like, okay, everything's supposed to be fine. And then when you get that news, it kind of stops you in your tracks, and you have to refigure some things out. How and why this happened.
Wow. Yeah. I can. Wow. Yeah. I'm processing, y'all. Jasmine, I'm just.
See, I'm right with you though, because that's heavy, and that actually my experience was much different. I think for me, getting that initial diagnosis, it was like all of the emotions came like running in. I felt like there was literally this whole cocktail of feelings and kind of like this strong emotional storm, because there was anger that showed up, and emotions don't show up by themselves, so they're usually accompanied with like other emotions and cousins' emotions and all that good stuff. So like there's anger, there's sadness, there's this feeling of overwhelm, and at the same token, there was still like this, like, I had a strong sense of gratitude for being able to know this kid and like having the privilege of being his mom. And I still had like, a sense of hopefulness that I didn't know how we were going to figure it out, but there was going to be like, there again, like just this big cocktail of emotions in terms of like how to work through and navigate all of these feelings. And I think one of the things that I ended up doing is like literally bringing the emotions to the table and sitting down with God, because at this point there was no need in trying to like stunt or pretend like I was okay. It was like, Lord, look, I am not okay. Like, and I had to literally just sit down with the emotions and sit down with him and kind of chop it up. And we can get like, as the interview continues, we can get further into some of the details, but just to answer the question, what didn't I feel? Like literally they all showed up.
No, that's wow. That's real. No, that's extremely real from both of you, because I don't have any children right now. Like I'm a mentor to some really great kids, and like I said, I love other people's kids, but I don't have any of my own. And I also like thought and prayed very much about doing this specific episode, because that I don't know. Like that's a lot. Like we very often as people, specifically Christians, talk about what we would do in situations.
Yes, we do.
And it's not until you're actually in that moment and sitting in that thing and they sitting in that chair and hearing that thing like spoken to you about your kids,
right?
Your child,
like
is different.
Yeah,
It's totally, totally different.
Absolutely, because you hear so many. Like I always talk about how people are, until people lose something or have this type of experience, these people be like, oh no, because such and such, and we're so judgmental.
Yeah,
very often Christians can be so judgmental instead of giving people grace and really understanding, like, until you in this situation,
right,
you would never understand.
Right. You don't know.
Yeah, because I had to catch myself, like, I understand. I don't. I can show empathy.
Yeah,
right.
But I can't sit here and tell you, like, I understand.
Right.
Like before I had Kendall, I used to say, when I would see people with children with special needs, I'm like, I could never do that. Like, I didn't have the patience for that, or the knowledge of that, or that was too overwhelming. That was something that I could not do.
Right.
And when it was told to me, I was like, wait, what?
Right.
Like you said, when you're put in the position, like, things change.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I said I couldn't do it before, but now I'm going to do it.
Right.
I have to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you show up.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, both things can be true. Like I could never do that at that state of mind that I was at back then. But now that the challenge has presented itself, this is a brand new version, and we're kind of like learning and growing and developing together. Like, as our kids are growing and developing, we're growing and developing. So the same person who I was back then doesn't have to show up. Now it's another version. It's an evolution, really.
Yeah. That's wow. Okay. That kind of rolls us right into the next question. Like I mentioned, we all go to church together. So we are all believers here. But my question is, what was your approach the last time the facts of the diagnosis? Because, if something like this happens, you start reading up on it. You want to know, WebMD, Google, whatever.
YouTube.
Exactly. Right. So what was your approach the last time the facts of the diagnosis appeared to outweigh your faith?
I would say, since we're talking about the last time facts, most recently we were told that Kendall needs a new heart. So I would love to say that I went straight and, my immediate reaction was like, God heals.
Yeah.
No. I went to fear first.
Yeah.
And I went to doubt. And I went to thinking, again, this is not happening. Like, this is my child. Like, emotions definitely enter in because you're a human being. And this is something you can't control, you can't fix, or anything like that. I was very, very scared. So, and I think, as, like you said, we're Christians, but we also have things that come in, like, fear and doubt come in sometimes. That's just because, we're flesh. That's who we are. But it's not staying in that place and knowing that God, what he's done before, what he's brought her out before. That, I had to get back in that place, but intentionally, because, I wanted to cry, and I wanted to, like, call everybody and say, this is what's happening and everything like that. But I need support. I know that staying in a position of fear and doubt, and then, when I speak those things that what the doctors say over her, that's not what we're called to do. Because she's going to live. So, in those moments, like when fear and everything creeps up, because we're emotional creatures, I just have to, visually bring myself back and remember, the times that she was brought out of different situations and how far she's come. So, to answer your question, sometimes fear and doubt will creep in before I, release my faith.
No, that's real.
But I do get to that point.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like at this point, fear. I heard I think it was like a rap lyric in a rap song that fear drives faith. And I was listening to, I want to say like maybe it's like a Lil Cray song or something like that. And I think just kind of experiencing everything that I've experienced with the diagnosis, I've learned to kind of put that lyric into some context in a sense. Like, I don't think that fear should drive us. I don't think that fear should always. It's definitely going to be in the car. Is basically what I'm getting to. I don't think that it should be behind the steering wheel. But at the same token, I find that fear, anger, like all of the quote unquote negative emotions, I believe that God gave them to us for a reason. And I think it's like a part of a buffering system. I think like when fear shows up, it is necessary, kind of like ringing an alarm and saying, okay, now it's time for your faith to go into action. I don't necessarily think that it's like the enemy or like the worst thing ever. Right. I think it's just part of like the human experience. Right. Yeah. So, I think in terms of like going back to the question, my approach has been basically that, like allowing myself to be human, you know, and then like in my humanity, asking God to show up and help me to figure out the stuff that I don't know. Yeah. And a lot of that has been, for me, my approach has been leaning to the OGs, the elders, yes, the people who have done this thing before. I don't believe in recreating the wheel in just about anything. So I will go, and if you don't have Cewanda Todd's book, okay, you might need to go bust it right, okay. Right. Yeah. So, but the book that talks about like the daily confessions, like for like 30 days or the devotional for 30 days, like things like that. Like, so your voice, listening to other people's stories, like adults with autism, and like what were some of the things that worked for them. My approach has pretty much been to seek wisdom, you know, try to get as much, and then even being careful with that, because really, when I first got the diagnosis, I was like all over my computer. Like I was WebMD. I was like, you know, what do I need to know and how fast do I need to know it? Because it almost feels like you need a master's overnight, right? You know, right?
Who has the right information?
Right. So much contradictory information for sure. So it's really like just giving myself again the right to be human. So process the emotion where I'm at in the emotion. I don't have to rush it along and hurry up and be what I'm quote unquote supposed to be. Sometimes I need a minute, you know, just to be where I'm at and talk to God about where I'm at. And then like taking this information and being patient with myself so that I can cultivate enough patience to be able to extend out to not only my son, but my family and the community, etc. Yeah. So the approach is take your time, baby. Don't, you know, like
So. No, that's good. I mean, I think so often we try to be super Christians. Legacy is like, what you're not going to do is...
I keep trying to set this baby down for nap time.
But no, like, I think that's very important because oftentimes people try to be superhuman instead of recognizing that humanity is prescribed to all of us. Right. And, you know, this was why the first episode was about fear, because it's real. It's honest. And even in Jasmine talking about, you know, fear being in the car, you know, when we talk about fight or flight, it's because there is a fear that rises inside of you that lets you know that you nuck if you buck, like what's good. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think that same approach happens in moments like this when you need to, like, you're reminded, like, okay, I got to get with it, but I still need to make sure I got proper coverage. I need to make sure I have the proper tools to do what I need to do in this situation. And also with MD and Google, sometimes, like you said, it's a setup. It's really a setup because, you know, I'm good to text Cewanda. Like Cewanda said, she's a nurse. And I just will text you, be like, hey, I need some support on this because I will WebMD some stuff.
Yes, and they will have you out there like
worst case scenario.
Every symptom, every ache, pain,
your mind starts creating symptoms. You be like, yo,
maybe I
like, am I breathing?
Can I breathe?
Exactly. You have to be very, very careful with that. Information that you.
Let me get my post-op. Like I've had a couple moments like since COVID. Like, let me go get my post-op. Like, wait a minute, hold on. What's my temperature? Am I high? Okay, I don't know. But so you all talked about, like, Jasmine, you specifically talked about like seeking wisdom going and talking to other people, and Cewanda even being a resource for you. So one of the questions that I also have was like, how has family support played a role in this experience? Because clearly, you know, I know you and someone, y'all go back like 8-track, like, you know, so this is still family.
Right.
Yes.
So what has that experience been like? How has family support played a role for you?
I think for me, it's been basically like a redefining of family. So it's not just necessarily like blood and people who share same DNA, but they've been awesome too. But it's been like really just connecting to people such as Cewanda, who I've seen like walk with such grace in terms of like raising a child with special needs. It's been connecting to, at this point, like I've connected to the autism community locally, like places like Play Place in Sterling Heights, Michigan. And that whole center is basically like a recreational center for kids on the spectrum and for children with special needs. And so you just run into people, Facebook, certain people on Facebook in terms of like certain Facebook pages. Like there's one that is like fire. I think it's called BAMS, which is Black Autism Moms Facebook group. That has been a great resource. There's also Michigan Moms of Autism. So basically, family has been everything because I've had to like really allow myself to be fed, you know, because parenting in general pulls on you. It's a lot in general, but I think parenting a kid with special needs has its own set of special wherewithal that one needs to be able to navigate it. And so learning how to get help, whether it's emotional help, whether it's like actual those come through babysitters, like my mom, my sister, my husband's family is like very supportive. So really family has been key, but not limited to just my birth family, like my church family. We got some prayer warriors who will show up on the scene, and and then we have like the church moms who are really good for just bringing that a sense of like comfort, and they just bring whatever that woo-saw feeling, they embody that, you know. So so family has been everything.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Cewanda, same question.
And I would agree 100% with everything you just said. As far as family support, have great family support. Like it doesn't have to be blood family. Like Jasmine said, you know, people are your family, especially our church family. It's a family. Yeah. And we don't have to be blood related, you know, to pray for each other, to just go in for each other. We don't have to know the situation, but just to know you're going through something, you know, people that have your back for real. You know, I have friends that, you know, support me, like, you know, check in on me. How you doing? You need anything? You're good, and things like that. And just knowing that there are people that, you know, community of people that know your situation. Yeah. They know what's going on. You don't have to talk to them every day and tell them every detail and update them. And they know. They know that they know that they know. And you know when they're praying for you and going in on prayer for you, that you can feel it. You know, wherever you are, and you feel that support and you feel that love, and know that it's, you know, it's legit. It's real. You know, it's not any kind of fake prayers or anything like that. You can't have everybody praying for you in your situation, because, you know, you get to the point where you know who you can go to for that, you know, that they may not, you know, understand it or have been through it, but they know God and they know the word and they know how to get you through, you know, your situation.
No, that's good. I mean, I think even for like, just a small caveat of just being mindful when you say you're going to pray for somebody. 9 times out of 10, you should probably stop right then and there and just pray for that person. Because, you know, you get distracted or something comes up and you're not even thinking about it as much.
That's true.
But even just talking about the significance of community, that is so important in everything that we do in life. people don't really always think about that. Like, you hear people talk very openly about being like self-made and, you know, I'm out here by myself. I'm out here, you know, no shoes, no socks, just out here. And it's like, but somebody gave you a meal the other day. We don't mind our business though, but yeah, so that's awesome. That. Exactly.
It reminds me of there. I want to say it's an African. I don't know like what part of Africa, but a proverb that says that if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. And I think like the thing is, good. This is a long haul type game parenting. So tribe is everything. And I've heard like several people say that, you know, well, my family isn't supportive. Find the tribe, you know, even if it's not blood, find your tribe, you know.
That's good. And I'm hoping that that's one of the things that in doing this episode, we're creating a space where people can create, like, connect and have those conversations of if you don't feel like you have a tribe while you're going through and experiencing certain things. Know that you can connect with somebody else because, you know, shout out to Bam. Who knew? Like,
right.
I'm sitting here like, Bam, okay. Yes, Bam. I love it.
Okay.
Yeah. Somebody was like, I got it. Here we go.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, what has been the most encouraging part of walking through this experience with your child?
I think for me that there's hope. Sometimes when you hear that news, you feel like there's no hope. Yeah. You feel hopeless. You feel stuck. You feel like, you know, all these emotions and things go into play, and you look towards the future. I don't know if you've done it, Jasmine. Like, when you hear something, you're already 10, 20 years down the line thinking about how your child's going to be when you haven't even really processed what is going on, you know, right now. Yeah. And that the story doesn't end with when you get that negative or that bad report. Yeah. You have to, you know, look within yourself and say, okay, they told me this, but this is what God says. Yeah. This is what we're going to do. Yeah. You know, it doesn't end with, you know, you take that in, of course. What they have to tell you, the details or the give you statistics and all of that stuff. Right. But then it goes to, what are you going to believe? What are you going to do about it? Yeah. You know, you just miss some miracles, I think, along the way. If you believe everything that you hear somebody tell you, that's going to happen.
You just wait.
Don't miss the miracle.
No, wait a minute. Because you're trying to get us to miss it right here, right now. Right. You just breeze past that. Say that again, because that is a statement.
It is true. Like, when
that's your next shirt, baby.
Something from, what is a doctor, whatever, whoever it is. There's miracles that have happened. They may be small miracles, but it's progress that you may not notice because you're so focused on, they said this. Yes. You know, my child will never do this. But you miss those little things, you know, if you get caught up in your emotions or, you know, thinking too far ahead, you know, of, know, life and what's going to happen in the future. Yeah. You're like, no. She did this today.
Right.
You know, she walked today. They said she wouldn't do that. She, you know, was able to feed herself. She couldn't do that before. Yeah. Like, let me celebrate this stuff. Yes. You know? And not be so consumed with all the doom and gloom that you read about or they tell you about what's going to happen.
Woo. That was...
She over here serving up wisdom. I'm
trying okay?
Serving up straight gems.
That's why I said what we won't do is miss that. I won't miss the miracle and you just dropping that.
Okay.
Listen.
Yes.
Oh, Jazzy, come on with the fire.
But it's just so key. That's like that's true of life in general. Like, regardless of like what your walk is, regardless on whether or not you're raising a child with special needs or not, like, literally. And I mean, so to tie it all in, to answer the question, Jasmine, because I'm still eating on what Cewanda's serving. But
is this the next book? Like, what's going on?
Exactly. But I think that's so key. Like, that's probably my strongest something of encouragement in this whole walk has been like being able to enjoy the journey, you know, because we get so destination driven. So like we got to get there. And I know like when it comes to autism, the way that the culture is set up is there is a lot of emphasis that's put on those early childhood years because of, and there's science behind it as to like why they do that. The brain is going through like some strong rapid growth and development between the ages of 0 to 6 years. And so the emphasis is he has to get it, and he has to get it now because the clock is ticking, and so it creates this sense of like anxiousness and like, okay, exactly, and like, is there going to be time? And so I think for me, like, it has been being able to rest in the fact that we're doing all the things that we know to do, and we're believing God to do the rest. So because sometimes like I'll have a conversation with people and they don't mean any harm, like this is typically loved ones, who will say things like, right now my son is currently nonverbal. And so the question is, well, is he talking yet? Well, no, he's not quite talking yet. And so I have to like kind of backtrack and say, well, in ABA or in play therapy or speech therapy, these are some of the things that he has picked up. These are the strides, because there's actually several baby steps before language occurs. And that happens across the board with all people. And so one of those baby steps might be like joint attention. So whereas he doesn't have full verbal words right now, he does have like stronger joint attention in comparison to where he was a month ago. He does have and even like the ability to be able to, there's joint attention, and then there's also just like a longer attention span in general. And so like taking the time to like really sit in and not miss that miracle, but like really appreciate the baby steps, appreciate the journey.
Not just the goal.
Exactly. And yes, that's I mean, we're definitely like trying to get him to grow and develop to the full extent that God would have him to grow and develop. But at the same token, it's like, don't miss the miracle. It's so key. It reminds me of this group called they're called Dragon Parents, and basically I want to say it's based off of a book. I caught a TED Talk a while ago, and their whole concept is parents who have who are in a situation whereas their kids have some strong hardships, whereas most of the time their kids may not survive. It is the diagnosis. I'm sure like you can relate to like that diagnosis. And so with these very rare diseases, rare situations, one of the things that they all suggest that everybody does is just literally enjoy who your child is today, because tomorrow isn't guaranteed for anybody. So like being able to just kind of like appreciate them for who they are today, appreciate the road, the where we are right now in this moment. And so it's very, 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 very key, and then also very, very powerful, very, very powerful for life in general. You know,
it is. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like y'all already kind of tapped into talking about this already from this question. But how do you use the growth you've experienced while walking through this to encourage others? Because I'm encouraged sitting right here, like just by listening to this. That's the question. So
I'm thinking to encourage others, I would say share your story.
Yeah.
And be truthful with what happens. Nobody wants to hear all the flowery parts, or you got to be real about the hard parts, like and how you got through it. And you don't have to be ashamed that you didn't get it right. Yeah, we try to be super women and like, oh, I have to do this because I'm the mom, so everything is on me, and that's not the case. Like I said, we have villagers to help us and everything, but we get it wrong sometimes, and it's okay. We don't know everything to do. That's why, we have other people out there, experts, and, everything to teach us. We don't have to take on the, all that pressure of, like you said, if my child doesn't do this at this time, then they may not get to it. And I don't know, like a lot of times I thought like I could do things, and if I didn't get it accomplished with Kendall, then I felt bad. Like, what? I'm a horrible mother. Yeah. Like, I should have been able to do that, or I missed that. I knew that, but it's too much to take on.
The fear of failing.
That's God's child. Yeah. He's going to work that out, and you don't have to, try to fix everything.
Yeah. That's good. Okay. All right. No supermom
Yes.
And
complex.
don't blame yourself. That's a big thing too.
Yeah.
A lot of times it's in the beginning, especially when we got the diagnosis and everything. It's like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Why
Yeah.
did this happen? You know, it kind of like falls back on you because you're thinking, I carried this child. I
Right.
did this.
Mhm.
You know, she came from me. Like, what did I miss? What did I do?
Mhm.
And even as they get older, you know, once they're born, they get older. It's still, I think, a lot of women blame themselves for things that they have no control over, and that they shouldn't take on, you know, that the pressure of that, because it's not your fault.
Yeah. That's a woman thing, like you said.
Yes,
We're
yeah.
taught. It's by society.
Yeah, it is.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it's something that's drilled into us for sure.
Absolutely.
And at one point, that was the diagnosis. Like when autism is like relatively a newly studied condition, and so at one point the diagnosis was that if your child had autism, it was because the mom did something wrong. So we're not like pulling this up from the air like the doctors would say that, oh well, you weren't loving enough, or you ate too much of this and not enough of that. Like just all these like
then all of a sudden
crazy.
Say, okay, I want to know your history.
Right,
What did you
exactly.
know?
Right. So do you hug this child? Do you look at this child? There was a lot of, and so really some of it is just kind of letting go of past and like what society would like the pressure that society would put on us.
Yeah.
So
That's good.
I mean, what's something that most people misunderstand about your journey in what you are doing and supporting your little one? Because people don't mind their business.
I think people don't understand that even though your child is here, your child lived, that you're not grieving.
That's good.
I feel like for myself, and I want to speak for you too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that there's a grief process that you go through, because this is not what you signed up for.
Right.
Pretty much, you know,
Yeah.
like we go into it like this child's going to be healthy, and when we get that other or that opposite diagnosis, it's like we grieve like the steps that, like, say a child at that age is doing.
Right.
Like, I'll speak for Kendall. She's 12, and I grieve like she's not having a little 12-year-old experience.
Yeah.
You know, with other little girls and sleepovers and just those friendships and those things, just from her being in the hospital so much. She's missed all social things.
Yeah.
You know, that we go through in life, and that we are able, you know, to have that, you know, we take for granted because that's just what we do. But she doesn't have a lot of social skills. So I think that we grieve the parts that our child was not able to do. And, you know, with society and everything like that. And I think another misunderstanding with people is that we can just jump up and go and be ready and just go.
What's
places.
that? Right.
It's like, okay, we're having a cookout, we're doing this, and this, and, you know, and I have to say, okay, are there a lot of stairs? Is there a long way to walk? Like, she's, you know, her lungs and everything like that. We have to take breaks, or I have to prepare.
Right.
And I just can't say yes to everything.
Yeah.
You know, although we may want to be there, we may not be able to go.
Yeah.
It's just not.
And sometimes showing up. Is just be, I'm here. You know, we made it, you know, so. So like just to kind of tie into that, I think what I find to be misunderstood a lot of times, and maybe it's the lingo, but I think the whole concept of special needs sometimes reads wrong, because to say special sometimes has like a different type of connotation to it. I feel like I just heard him.
No, I did too.
I feel like I just heard myself.
Your mom alert went on. Mom alert.
But diving back into that, sometimes I think that to have special needs is to have like quote unquote special needs. Like I'm looking for something extra from society for my kid, and so I think that maybe we should just call them needs, or like basic needs, or his unique needs. Or I think sometimes like the idea of having to call ahead and say, well, is there going to be, how noisy is it? Is there going to be like a bit of a quiet space that we can be in? Or and then sometimes like as a high energy seeker or high sensory seeker, sometimes we need like to be able to rip and run. So do you have like fragile glass around? Like so there's just a lot of things to consider, and it's not so much that I'm asking for, I don't know, like an entitlement, but I do have to ask. I do have to advocate because these are his needs. So different needs. I think sometimes special gets a little convoluted.
And especially because you're his advocate. You know, that's the thing. Like as the parent, as the mom, they trust you to be like, hey, like something, you know, temperature wise, like you said, stairs, or even, you know, E needs to get his energy out.
Right.
Like,
or different sounds can be a problem. So.
And sometimes unless you are actually around these amazing little people, because I spend time with both of your little people, I know that there are times when E comes into service that it's just too loud for him. Or there are moments where Kendall climbs the stairs and it's like, Kendall needs a moment, like let her have that moment. But sometimes when people don't have those actual relationships and those connections, and when people just aren't aware of other people, period, outside of themselves, they're not as mindful. Sometimes those are the people that I want to have to smack sometimes. But you know, I appreciate y'all for not running up
somewhere, somebody's like, excuse me, can you, like, they're like, what's the problem? Like,
exactly. Doesn't have to be right here. Like,
you have to sit next to her and do that. Okay, now we'll just go.
Right.
You know?
Exactly.
No, absolutely. And you shouldn't just, all commercials. At this point, you just shouldn't smoke. Like,
you know, that's a whole nother. Right.
See, I just told you. I told everybody else in my business. Kendall got to mind hers. Okay. How has this experience impacted other areas of faith in your life?
I feel as though it's helped me to look at things from a different lens, and mostly like introspectively, like look at myself in a different lens. I found that when Emeka was diagnosed with autism, one of the biggest hurdles that I had was the culture clash between autism and perfectionism, which I had, and trying to figure out how like my ism and his ism was not getting along at all, because perfectionism, the whole basis is like I'm trying to give him what I think is a tool to help him to navigate through society, but I haven't actually like been able to. I hadn't actually taken the time to look as to why I think it's a tool to navigate through society. And like really what it boils down to is perfectionism is simply a response to trauma. And so using this response and trying to pass on, you know, this tool of this is how you get your need for love and belonging in this world. That he was not receiving this, you know, and I'm like, Lord, he's not getting it, so you need to tell him. And then the Lord is like, no, daughter, like look at yourself. Be like, why is this the case? So I think for me, it's like really been able to explore why I do what I do, and then give myself room to grow. So as I'm parenting him, allowing God to parent me, and allowing him to help buffer some of maybe like the false paradigms that I've clung to for so long. I don't even know if that was, what was the question? Did I answer the question?
How has your faith and how, like, literally he's teaching you as you are learning and teaching him as well. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's... Yep.
I would say this whole experience and journey has, I definitely use this as my model of my faith. I think because there's nothing that I've ever been through that is as tough as this, or more rewarding, you know, also. So I use this, I guess, as my model to say, if something else happens, like, oh, I can get through that, you know, that, or, you know, even though, you know, it seems like minute or much smaller than this whole, you know, journey that we're going through now. So I kind of use our life for the last 12 years as a model of my faith when something comes up. Like, okay, Cewanda, that's not a big deal.
Wow.
Like,
Yeah.
chill.
Yeah.
Leave that alone. Don't
Yeah.
worry about that. You know,
Yeah.
you've been through worse. You've been through like more, and your faith. You have had to use your faith in much bigger situations.
Mm-hmm.
So it's allowed me to, I guess, be more humble and say,
Yeah.
sis,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
You
Exactly.
got this. That's not a
Exactly.
big deal. Don't cry, sweat, get mad over that. Just
Yeah.
let it be.
Yeah.
It is.
No, it made me think of the scripture that talks, we have overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the words of our testimony.
Yeah.
Like, it's that reminder, like, okay, God, you've done this before.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it may not have been this exact situation,
Right.
but I can still take this template and apply it and say, hey, this is, essentially your life becomes something that you have to read back, like the Bible. Like, it becomes that example that you have to read to yourself to remind yourself, like, hey, sis, you can do this.
Exactly.
You have to remind yourself, though.
Yeah.
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 Intentionally.
Listen.
Because you want to go there a lot. Like,
For real.
I can't do... wait now. You remember when you did this, X, Y, and Z?
Yeah.
You came out of that. You can do this. Yeah. But you have to intentionally do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yes.
For real.
Yeah. Okay. That actually, like, y'all are just going right into my business and these questions, because that's trying to make this thing move. This conversation just keeps getting better. Please be sure to come back next week when we release part 2 of this episode. You don't want to miss it. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, keep your hands clean and don't forget to adjust your crown. And forget who I am. I find myself like a turtle in the sand, buried, looking for a way out.